The following podcast contains scenes of a very sexy nature, naughty words, and workplace violence, and should not be listened to by those who are easily offended, underaged, or easily aroused.
Hello, bonjour, bienvenue to episode 4 of the Failing Writers podcast. We're just three mostly ordinary guys who keep trying to write, and with varying degrees of success or lack of success. This week there's a little bit of this.
"Fetch a physician!" he cried, giving the Right Reverend Sticklefinger an uncommonly hard and prolonged banging.
Quite a lot of this. And this.
So he let go of my head, which went smack on the dance floor, and that's what knocked me out, apparently.
Is definitely one of the highlights. But despite that, do keep listening.
Yeah, anyone written anything?
Legitimate or podcast-wise?
No, legit. We've all obviously written a little bit of porn.
Oh, do you reckon should we start with that, do you think? Because I haven't written anything else.
No, I have to say I'm in the same position. Where it's funny. Do you remember on the last podcast where I'd written something and I was slightly euphoric?
Yep.
Feeling a burning passion inside me.
Yeah, but get it on the page.
And then this happened.
So, are you going to get back to it today?
No, I'll probably leave it a few weeks. So actually, as it turns out, that little bit of jesting about there, that kind of came true. Yeah, one way or another.
But I'm sure there's a good reason for it, Tom.
Just a bit of laziness, a bit of kids around and stuff.
Kids do get in the way of a lot of things, don't they?
Yeah.
Writing is just one of the many things they get in the way of.
But I've got back on it, and I've done some editing.
Oh, good.
My
yeah.
pathetic little sales book. That's good.
How many words is it now?
And then massively depressed myself by reading about publishing and self-publishing, and ended up on some writing forums and different things and what have you. And
Well, that's all useful, maybe.
Did it look difficult?
God, I mean, just so many people out there giving advice.
Yeah, that's the same. Same with everything.
Some
isn't it?
qualified, some unqualified, and then I was on this forum and people posting these questions about their writing, like, can I use in a word? You know, like, can I put that in dialogue? Think, well, why are you asking? Just either do or don't. And then there's people answering with like really like, no, absolutely not. You think, well, you can sometimes. Well, you don't want all of your.
Yeah,
but you can use it as a device, can't you? As a
character.
It demonstrates a pause for thought or an unsureness or whatever it is. You can do it. Yes, of course you can. Blah, blah, blah. No, you can't. How can you have strong opinions on this? And no one can say without knowing the context of your entire book.
To err is dinosaur, though, as we've already learned. So
Indeed.
Important lesson.
Obviously, being annoyed at that, I will continue to read various other threads with the same kind of things.
Oh dear.
It just depresses me and boils my head.
Yeah.
It really does. It just
You can't you can't go down the rabbit hole.
It is a rabbit hole. That's exactly it. It's like
It's not good.
Yeah, don't drill into these things.
It's just awful. Just people.
There's something about being online as well that makes people very certain.
Yes,
That's
because
the thing,
there's no
isn't it? It's
comeback.
Yeah, it's like nuance goes out the window. You're not allowed to give a complex, nuanced response to anything. You've got to be absolutely certain.
That was it. It was just these.
And angry. A little bit
And
angry.
then intermingled with that is people posting, I've had a really good idea for a book. I want to get someone to write it. And then people saying, well...
Can't you do it yourself, perhaps?
Yeah, or write it yourself. There's another idea.
Well, they're doing it in a sort of... there's an idea. You can have this idea.
So. I love those ones. So I've had this idea for a zombie thriller. And the zombies are kind of half human, half plant. And it's set in Swindon. That's about as far as I've got, but I think it's a good idea. Anyone that wants that, take it. And
you can have it.
I won't even ask for money when it gets turned into a film. Do you know what I mean? You can just go with it. Just go with it. It's yours.
I always get that. I used to get that from my family. I'd always be like, you can put that in one of your sketches. Put that in one of your silly little plays.
And then David go, yeah, but it's not funny. And they go, well, yeah. We've seen your work. We've seen that Scottish one you did.
Yeah, exactly.
40 seconds of nothing with no punchline.
just people pissing everywhere.
Oh. Anyway, so that's what I did. I went down the rabbit hole of trying to find out things about publishing and self-publishing and other things. And
it's an interesting area because I know a few people that have done self-publishing and done quite well out of it, and obviously quite a few haven't. But Mr. Ryan, who we've been talking about, he started off.
He did.
Self-publishing, didn't he?
I'm not after doing well out of it, Dave. That's the thing. I just want to do it easy without There just seems so many different hoops to jump through and you can't quite tell who's trying to con you out of this. And there's
well, everyone's trying to con you, aren't they? But
yeah,
I suppose what you want, if you just want to have a book that you can stick on your own coffee table, then yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with self-publishing, is there? I think it used to be a bit of a dirty word and looked down upon.
You're right. I think it's a very legit way of getting.
I don't think it is anymore.
Getting things moving.
Yeah, it's no different than making a podcast like this, is it? Or
exactly,
having a YouTube channel. Or
I know two people who've done self-published books. One, Owen, who's gone on from that to get like a book deal, and another guy who has refused to do a book deal and wants to keep going down the self-publishing route, because it's done him so well so far.
Wow.
And he can keep total control over everything he does. And he's done very well.
See, I think there is something about that, isn't there? Not having to...
Yeah.
Because that's part of the process of finding a publisher or an agent, isn't it? Whatever it is they get to analyse your work to see whether they think it's worth it. And obviously you do think it's worth it, because that's where you've got to after your 18th draft of it and it's finished.
Yeah. If you can show you've got readers already... That's a bit of a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
That's the other thing, isn't it? It means that publishers don't have to take such a shot in the dark if they already know that people like it.
That means you have to write more than one book, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That means you have to do multiple writings.
Whoa. A sequel. A silly
Imagine
little sequel.
Get the phone call from the publisher. We've seen how well you've been doing on this self-published. I have. We'd like to offer you a massive contract. Brilliant. Cool. For another book. What? For another book.
So, do you know how long it took?
Whoa. Oh, come on.
That was my 30s and 40s.
I haven't got any other ideas. Give me a second. I'm going to jump on this forum and see what... Right. No, I've got this idea. It's these zombies, and they're half zombie, half plant. Yeah, no, it is a good idea, isn't it? It is, yeah.
I've already done 70,000 words. I don't have to do any more. I've been looking a lot at that recently, because I've been trying to keep going with the book, but like with... kids getting in the way and all that, it's been hard. But I'm up to 40,000 words on the war, spooky war book. And I must have Googled at least 10 times how many words do you need to have in a novel.
Just in case it's come down.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe this time it'll be less.
Changed? Come on.
It still says
Fingers
between
crossed.
80 and 100,000. Come on.
Just say stop, that'll do. But yeah.
How many had your dad written?
I don't know, actually. That's a good...
His dad had just left him a note on the fridge in the kitchen saying, I've had this good idea for a book.
Zombie soldiers.
It's half set in the wartime, half set in 1989.
In Swindon.
It's all yours. Don't worry about the film rights. You can have them.
I think it's 200 in pages, so I don't know. Yeah, well, I'm on about 150 pages, and it's 40,000 words, so...
That probably is about 40,000, something like that.
I reckon if I get to 70, that'll do.
Depends how big the pages are.
No, it's a page of A1. No, page of A4. Yeah. I'm writing on the side of a bus shelter. I found how to format a Microsoft Word document into like a book thing.
Well, that's good.
So I'm using that. Yeah. It's A4 pages, 40,000 words, 150 odd, I think, pages, something like that.
Right. It's funny though, because you get some like big, thick thrillers, and you think, "Oh, it's going to take me a little while to read."
Massive words.
And you open it up, and there's about 40 words on each page.
Yeah.
Really big writing, and right in the middle of the page, and loads of white space around the edge.
Yeah.
So it sort of does depend how it's formatted, doesn't it?
But apparently, the Wizard of Oz was less than 40,000 words.
Wow.
And they did all right for themselves.
Was it a kid's book?
I don't know. I don't think it was.
There's a few old modern classics, aren't there, that are quite short. Do you like that sort of that 30, 40,000?
Yeah.
Great Gatsby, that's quite short.
Yeah, The Great Gatsby was one of them, wasn't it? That's kind of in the 40,000s. but then that means you have to write a book that's going to be treasured by generations to come, really, for that kind of
That's the
quality.
balance, isn't it?
Do you know? Yeah. So if you want to save time, Dave, just do a better job of writing it. Make it into a classic.
Just either write a classic and keep it short, or do a load of words that are just rubbish.
Just take them out. Dead easy writing.
That's a good. You know what? Write a long book and then take all the bad words out
Just
and
leave the
have a
good
classic.
words in. There you go.
Yeah, that's the formula.
Can't believe it's
Isn't it?
taken us
For
till the
success.
fourth podcast to invent editing. In the hope that people are listening to this, trying to learn something or connect on our level or think, yeah, those guys, they're like me.
Yeah,
no, they're
but
not.
We can edit.
They
We
haven't
can
got a
edit it
clue.
down. We can edit this down to one episode of
Probably,
pure
yeah.
insight.
If people haven't worked
Just
out
end it there.
that we haven't got a clue by now.
No, I mean, obviously that's part of our charm, isn't it? It's part of our shtick.
Yeah. But how about you, John? Have you written anything of it? How have you coped with having children
I
in the
haven't
house?
really. I haven't managed to write anything apart from our little erotica bits.
Well
done, lads.
I'm
Sounds
looking
like
forward to
time
that.
well
I
spent.
think so. We're a lot of
Yeah.
walking with friends, trying to prise the kids away from a screen for a few moments and admin, things like that.
Yeah.
So, well spent time, but not writing, unfortunately.
Yeah. I suppose we probably should move on to the erotica.
Shall we?
Yeah.
How did you find it, boys?
I found an interesting thing. Immediately, I suddenly, presented with an empty page in front of me, realised that I've never actually read any erotica. So I had absolutely no idea what to parody, if you know what I mean.
Do you know what? I'm not sure I have either, really, actually.
Maybe that's an advantage.
No,
Yeah. Dave's very quiet on this. What's your favourite erotic novels?
I haven't read any. I've looked at the pictures.
Those aren't really considered books, to be honest. They're different.
Look, if you can leaf through the pages with one hand, then that's all that matters, isn't it? But what really helped for me was when you two said that you'd both done 550 words. Then I was like, right, now I know how much I've got to do.
Mine kind of turned into a story.
What?
Mine's definitely got a story to it as well.
I tried I started with a ridiculous premise, and then it just kind of worked its way into some kind of narrative of some sort.
Well, that's nice.
I made my wife read it last night.
And
How did that turn
You know,
out?
last week, Dave, we were saying...
Now you're expecting another
we were
baby.
saying last week how when you write things like erotica, it can be a bit of a window into your life, into your soul, it can be very, very close
Yeah.
to home, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite revealing.
It's very
Mhm,
revealing, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
She laughed in all the right places and was glad when it was finished.
Well, let's see then. Let's hear it. Let's hear it and see what it reveals about you, Tom.
It's time to get dirty, very, very dirty, maybe even hurty. It's time for the hardcore.
I haven't given it a title, actually.
I don't think it needs one. I think
Untitled.
this is such a new genre.
I think you need a title. You also need a nom de plume as well.
Oh.
Oh, you're
Charlton
Longshanks,
Longstaff.
aren't you? Whatever.
I'm Charlton Longstaff.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, you two think up your nom de plumes
All right. Okay.
while I treat you to 554 words of... He remembered the first time they had laid together. He was 23 and she never told him her age. Sorry, this is too wrong. So wrong. Right, start again. But next time, I'm going to lose it because I can't. I'm just seeing the words here. Yeah.
Okay.
He remembered the first time they had laid together. He was 23 and she never told him her age. But even before tracing out the lines of bulging veiny contours of her thighs and running his hand through her thinning wispy white hair, he was very aware of the age difference. It wouldn't be true to say that the gap in their years had never bothered him, but he was in this for the long term. Sure, there were obstacles that came with the age difference, but when they were together, she felt the years faded into nothing and simply lived in the moment. A moment which he knew could always be one of her last. He remembered the first time they had made love 3 years ago, as they laid there on the picnic blanket in that deserted field, the rich summer sun beating down on their naked flesh. He, like Howard Carter breaking the seal on Tutankhamun's tomb, had gently placed his hands on the inside of her knees, encouraging her legs apart to reveal the treasure that had been hidden for years. A moist oasis springing from the menopausal desert of her loins. His mind was turned back to the present as she leant over his reclined naked body, her frail but determined hand falling willingly down his young, firm body, before gently taking his meaty manhood in her soft, wrinkled hands. He could feel the excitement fill his mind and the blood fill his penis. And so could she, not even letting her relatively severe arthritis not even letting her relatively severe arthritis lessen her firm grip on his now fully erect member. She stroked him up and down, faster and faster, firmer and firmer, before whispering for him to enter into her ancient palace of delight. They didn't need to worry about protection. Her fertility had receded into the past around the same time the Berlin Wall came down. And so, he mounted her. His muscular young arms flexed and stretched tautly either side of her bony shoulders as he positioned himself gently at her entrance, before thrusting firmly into her. She could feel him spreading her wide. She could feel him filling her with youth. She could feel him stripping away the years. Whereas moments ago she had groaned with the mild discomfort of hoisting her elderly frame onto the bed, she now moaned with pure pleasure. With climactic spasms of such enthusiastic primal force that would have certainly concerned any onlookers to their carnal act as to the safety and survivability of his partner underneath him, had there been any such witnesses. He finished, spent, satisfied, and although he would never admit it, you have to think on some subconscious level, slightly disgusted with himself. As they lay there, she glowed in the moment past. Through her scaly cataract eyes, she looked adoringly at him, and gave him the biggest loving smile, but not before she had reached over to the bedside table and popped her dentures back in. And not before he had chance to think of how he was one step closer to being named the sole beneficiary to her substantial estate.
Yeah, that was a twist, wasn't
It
it?
was quite sweet up until then, wasn't it?
Wow.
There we go, we got to the end.
Wasn't
That
it?
was amazing. That was amazing.
What a bastard.
But, she's happy.
Oh, so I'm going to probably just send that straight to Radio 4, I think.
Yeah.
What, the recording of you reading it?
Yeah. I think I brought some.
Thought for the day. I imagine that she's going to live forever out of spite. Just keep on going.
Get more and more rampant.
Imagine that. Imagine what a story that would be if you got together with someone thinking, oh, if I stick this out for a year, then I'll get the inheritance, and then they live for another 30 years.
I mean, in that story, she
Don't die until they're 110.
she's pretending she's got some terrible illness, isn't she?
Yeah. Yes.
And she's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What a twist. Well, that was lovely.
It's good, Tom.
It was. Yeah.
It's quite raunchy as well, wasn't it?
There's some familiar words. There's some of the, we should. I think we could do like a bingo, like an erotica bingo of the words that turn up in each of our pieces.
I love Tutankhamun's tomb. That was my favourite bit. That was a lovely touch. And actually, it was genuinely moving for a while. And then it was all like snatched away. It was really quite harsh.
Well, I want to hear more. I want to know more of this tale already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did they meet? You might have to finish that one, Tommy.
Chapter 2. Turns out she'd been dead for 18 months now. So there you go.
Brilliant.
There you bloody go.
Charlton Longstaff. Do you want to go next, John?
No, you go, man. You go.
All right, okay. So this is One Night Only by Harvey Sheath. Veronica dropped her right shoulder and shrugged it clear of the wine-coloured satin robe, exposing the first tantalising glimpse of her smooth, tanned flesh. The other shoulder followed suit, and she slowly enticingly let the fine lace garment glide to the floor. Michael gasped at the sight of the push-up chemise and thigh-high silk stockings that left just enough to his overactive imagination. "Switch heating on," she whispered softly through bright red lips. "It's fucking freezing in here." Michael rushed to get up, but his engorged member had left the blood supply to his head dangerously low, making him instantly dizzy. This, combined with the fact he already had his Poseidon fetish thong down round his ankles, caused him to stumble, knocking the thermostat from the wall. It smashed against the floor, sending the batteries tumbling through a gap in the reclaimed timber floorboards. "Oh, I need to get me hand on a new set of double A's now," Veronica sighed. "I was thinking the same thing myself, darling," Michael grunted as he stared at his lover's knightly-esque knockers. Undeterred by his hypotensive episode, Michael shot to his feet once more and cupped the undersized orbs with his big, hairy hands. "Don't worry, love. I'll keep you warm," he hissed. He leant forward and kissed her passionately, his coarse, wiry stubble raking across her freshly waxed upper lip, sending shivers of delightful discomfort through her already sensitive skin. Tiny bumps of goose flesh sprung up all over her body as every hair that hadn't recently been ripped out at the salon stood to attention. "Lie back," Michael commanded, and Veronica instantly did as she was bid. She yelped as she toppled off her 6-inch heels and collapsed to the floor, her exposed buttocks becoming unnervingly intimate with the remains of the thermostat. "Let me finish," Michael continued. "I meant lie back on the fucking sofa." Checking that no plastic had punctured her posterior, Veronica crawled cat-like onto the sheepskin rug and lay back, exhausted. "Fuck it, let's just do it here," she wheezed as she checked the app on her phone. "I'm not going to be ovulating much longer, and besides, Pascal's nearly here with the Deliveroo." Michael dropped to all fours and waddled across the floor like a Komodo dragon seeking his prey. Hitching aside the smooth fabric of her lace knickers, the lovers exchanged a nod which each instantly understood to mean, "Let's not bother with foreplay." With a grunt like that of an old man standing, Michael entered the glorious palace of womanhood and felt that familiar pulse through his body, the one that told him this wouldn't take long. Thrusting for all he was worth, Michael soon let out a cry of ecstatic anguish and slumped to the ground, spent. Veronica eased his dead weight to one side and tottered to the bathroom to clean up and finish off. She was still wearing the chemise and stockings when she opened the door to Pascal and snatched the set meal for two from his trembling hands. "Thanks for the food," she growled, "but that's not all I'm hungry for. Fancy a tip?" Pascal gulped and rearranged the front of his lycra cycling shorts. "You'll have to be quick," he said nervously. "Don't worry, love," Veronica sighed. "I'm fucking used to that."
Dave, yours turned into a story as well, didn't it?
A little tale, yeah.
Didn't
I
it?
felt like I had to tell
It
a
was like
story.
an episode of the Fat Slags from Viz.
Yeah.
It was
Little
lovely.
surprise
Well, the
ending.
question is whether John has managed to turn his into a story and whether he's referred to a lady's downstairs parts as a palace. Or
Yeah, palace. What other words? Actually, spent. We both had spent in there, Tom. Let's see what words John has used.
I think mine's a little bit cleaner than yours.
you know what erotica
Okay.
is, don't you, John? What do you mean clean?
This is a piece called A Raspberry Jam.
Malcolm and Tracy held hands at the cinema.
They went for a walk.
It's a bit like that, to be fair. This is called
It's cold, so they both put on a pullover.
It's the first date.
It is, it is just the beginning of the story. It's just before it gets really filthy.
Oh, yes. That's what you want from erotica.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
before things get
Yeah.
erotic.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to read the next page, oh my God.
Oh, it wouldn't last a moment.
Jeez. But that's for next week. This is called A Raspberry Jam by Felicia Blemington. And it's a sort of E.L. James meets Jane Austen.
We will be the judge of that, John.
Here we go. Mr. Highbrow again.
Yeah, I set the
eh?
bar quite high there. Until Johnson had been dismissed for inappropriate conduct, Lady Fannersbury had never needed to tend to her own topiary. But today, what with her new neighbour, Sir Davenshaw Mellersley, due for high tea, she decided to take the bush by the thorns, and thus could be found upon the veranda, carefully trimming the jungle-like Buxus rugulosa confronting her. A noise from the kitchen garden startled her, a sound like a slap. There it was again.
now repeating with increasing vigour until Lady Fannersbury's curiosity was aroused so feverishly she found her nimble feet already skipping toward the source. Peering through the raspberry bushes, leaning as far as the ample contents of her bodice would allow, she spied a young gentleman spanking the bishop quite uneuphemistically, for there, doubled over, was the Right Reverend Ivan Sticklefinger. The presence of the bishop was of no particular surprise to the lady, for His Excellency lived only across the river and oft enjoyed exploring her gardens with the express blessing of Lord Fannersbury. Of rather more note, however, was that behind him stood a young, handsome gentleman in riding attire, repeatedly smacking him, quite as though he meant to mount the poor fellow and ride him away. "Oh, my!" exclaimed her ladyship, stepping out from behind the shrubbery to prevent the carnal ritual descending into further indecency. The young gentleman turned, wild-eyed, to the place where her ladyship had exposed herself. "Fetch a physician!" he cried, giving the Right Reverend Sticklefinger an uncommonly hard and prolonged banging. At that moment, the Reverend's bright puce face burst open, and a small, identically coloured object was expelled at high velocity from his mouth. All three watched as a morsel of raspberry arced through the air, bounced off Lady Fannersbury's left bosom, and deposited a sticky red emblem upon that comely dome. The bishop, suddenly mortified for despoiling her ladyship's left hillock, suddenly lunged at her with a watering can to cleanse the offending stain, unintentionally dispatching the entire contents over her. As the cascade of cold water enveloped her, Lady Fannersbury screamed, causing the red-faced bishop to panic, rush forward, and rub apologetically at her frontage in a vain attempt to dry her. The impropriety of this well-intentioned gesture only struck him at precisely the moment he accidentally manhandled one of her ladyship's perfect, pillowy protuberances free from its nest, whereupon it bounced twice and then hung, glorious, bobbling, and pendulous before them. For a moment, the garden was utterly silent. The bishop gaped. The young man bowed and attempted to divert attention from her ladyship, who was frantically spooning her suet pudding back into its bowl. "Your ladyship, I am Master Davenshaw Mellersley, here to convey my father's apologies. He has been afflicted with a chill and will not be able to make this afternoon's engagement. I happened upon this man in distress—" "Bishop! Master Davenshaw Mellersley," interrupted Lady Fannersbury, "you have made me very, very damp. May I inquire as to what you now intend to do about it?" The young man's eyes roamed over Lady Fannersbury's fruit garden, lingering for a moment upon her ripe honeydew melons that glistened invitingly in the afternoon sun. Then he lifted his eyes to hers, smiled, and asked, "Did you have something particular in mind, Lady Fannersbury?" Wow.
Silence.
I want to know. I want to know what happens next.
Well, that's it.
I'm
you see.
hooked.
We haven't quite got there.
Oh, my goodness me! What
Episode
a prologue!
Yeah.
Wow.
John shocks us there with his intense imagery. Can't resist it, can you?
Love it.
There's more than one way to turn on a cat.
Is there?
That's how the saying goes. I don't think many of those words turned up in me and Tom's, did they?
No.
No. There were some different words in there. But what was that bush called? That smelt
That was a Buxus rugulosa.
That smelt of research, that line.
Oh, there was definitely a bit of research there.
Oh, it's brilliant. Wonderful. Wow.
Thanks, Baird.
What careers we could have had.
Oh, yeah. Goes to show, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's never too
Yeah.
late. Never too late.
Anyway, I think I get the feeling that we all enjoyed writing them.
Yeah. I think that came across, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice just to have a little pointless write, isn't it, actually?
Yeah.
Rather
It is.
than thinking, I feel like I should write something, right, I'll have to pick up one of the projects I'm half finished.
Yeah. I think as well, a lot of pointless writing, all those little like silly things that you write, are the things that end up like being quite good, possibly. Like if you continue to...
there's a lot to be said for like just having. Okay, I've got. I'm going to end this by the end of this page, so I've got to fit
Yeah.
it all in the beginning, middle, and end, all in one go, let's do it. I used to love that with writing sketches. You just sort of say, right, I'm not going to go over 2 pages and just, just explore around this idea a bit. If only novels were only a page long.
Oh. I would have written literally 4 or 5 of them by now.
Yeah. we could put together an anthology of incredibly short stories.
Could be a market for that.
Could be, couldn't there?
Yeah.
Haven't got time to read? More than a page? Kids knocking at the bathroom door? Yes, get it over and done with. Page a day. What a book that could be.
And then if you could connect those pages so there was some kind of story thread that continued throughout them, and then put them page after page for maybe 200 pages or something of it, maybe, imagine.
Have we now also invented the novel?
Yes.
What a productive day this has been so far.
Amazing. Bit weird, we've invented editing the novel before writing the novel, but I don't think that's a problem, is it?
Not necessarily a problem, is it? No. Invent the process and then, invent the product at the end. That's,
Saves you editing as well if you've already edited it before you
even start, yeah. It's brilliant.
Makes you wonder in history whether anyone has actually invented something. Just been tinkering in the shed, the great British inventor or something.
Yeah.
And invented a tin opener before tins were invented, or do you mean invented a toaster before anyone got round to slicing bread or something like that? Or...
It must have happened. History must be littered with things. What is it?
I don't know. It looks good though, doesn't it?
One day.
What is an air fryer?
It makes your hands warm. Fuck that.
I'm going to send it to Queen Victoria and see what she thinks.
Yeah, that's well. I enjoyed that quite a lot.
Right then, well, that's that section of the podcast done, isn't it? I don't think I'm not feeling a natural progression to another section, so we'll probably just leave it there, play a weird little interlude, and come back to it.
Yeah.
I am a writer using a quill made from the bum of a bird. Also some parchment and black ink and skill, but mostly just Microsoft Word.
Well, we were going to talk about jobs, weren't we?
Yeah, it kind of came out. I was thinking about how lucky we are that as professional voice artists,
as just demonstrated by reading those wonderful works of art.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, yeah, we are lucky in that in our normal working week, when it's not school holidays and there aren't global pandemics and that kind of thing, we could, if we so chose, actually find time to write.
Yes.
Whereas there are people that have full-time jobs and still manage to write more than we do.
Yeah, that's true. But I can't imagine. Yeah, how do you find time to do anything if you actually? I haven't had a proper job since 2006.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I'd manage now if I actually had to go somewhere and work all day. That'd be really hard.
It would be really hard, wouldn't it? I mean, when do you do your washing and stuff like that? After work?
What?
Yeah.
What? I've got stuff to watch after
That's
work.
right.
I can't be doing.
I've forgotten how
things.
that works. Yeah.
But you're right. Like having free time really should make it easy. But it doesn't always work out.
No,
that way.
mean the thought came to me in kind of a whirlwind of guilt. It was basically some kind of like trying to justify. Well, the kids have been off, so it's tricky. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think if you've got a cushy job, it might just be the worst thing.
That's the other thing I was thinking. Does it take the edge off?
Yeah, because firstly, you've got very little to write about. If your job's quite cushy, I was listening to Bruce Springsteen on something the other day, and he was saying that great art has to come out of suffering. But if that is true, then I'm fucked. So what if he's
a
right?
famous miner, isn't he,
Right.
Bruce Springsteen? Famous for his work down the pit. But no, it's true because you're right. Like, what do we write about? What do I write about? I don't do anything with my time. Like, I was thinking jobs.
No, that's it.
Jobs can get in the way of writing, but they can also give you ideas, give you inspiration for what to write, can't they?
Maybe we need to go out and get jobs like we did when we were students and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've heard of people that, comedians and stuff, who will go and do something just so they can write about it, do a bit about it. I think it was Frank Skinner that said that he went for a colonic or Frank Skinner or Baddiel, one of them went for a colonic irrigation just so he could write a bit about it afterwards. Yeah. Because in the normal course of things, like I don't do anything with my time.
It's true. And writing about being a voiceover is not really. It's not going to be a bestseller.
No.
Stephen King was a janitor, which is where I think was it Carrie came from.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think
and there's a janitor in The Shining as well, isn't it?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, of course.
But we just need to draw on past experiences, then, don't we? I once worked in a banana factory. So yeah,
did you?
You made bananas.
An actual banana factory. How do you?
It was
how do you make a
more
banana?
about putting them in plastic bags for 13-hour shifts. I can't think there was that much inspirational stuff came from that. Apart from the mild excitement in the factory when someone thought one of the spiders might have been transported with the banana.
Oh.
Because they're pretty bad banana spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I once spent 13 hours sticking labels on packets, which you would think they'd have a machine for that, but no, it's just me.
You'd also think that it's quite easy to identify a banana, isn't it? Even without a sticker that says banana on it.
Yeah, no, we don't when you get them in a supermarket and they come in a bag.
It's got the brand on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't just say banana.
What are these yellow things?
Yeah.
Oh, look, it says banana. Oh, great. You used to have a collection, John, of Apple stickers, didn't you?
I did, didn't I?
All around your monitor.
I was trying to catch them all. Yeah.
I never knew there were so many different varieties of apple until you brought in that golden russet one day, or whatever it was called. And
oh, that was a prize. That was a good day.
And they all had different. That was just the things you learn at work. Like, how would I have ever known that each apple comes with a sticker that's got a different number on it? Never have known that. That's a character trait, isn't it?
It's like the opening line to a novel,
stickers.
isn't it? That's where you draw on the experience. He was 36 before he realised just how many different kinds of apples there were.
John pulled the sticker off his golden russet.
But something told him that this apple was different. Yeah, no, you need that experience. That's, just need to draw on. What's the worst job you've ever had, Dave?
Oh, God. So, in between university and working at Galaxy, writing adverts, I worked at a call centre. I hate talking on the phone, so I went on the data inputting side of things. I can't remember what the company was called now, but it was clearly being deliberately run at a loss.
It was some sort of tax dodge.
Yeah, it absolutely was, because there was stuff that happened that you just think, how could you not know that that's a terrible idea? And it was just like being run into the ground. And then they brought this sort of sales guru in to try to turn things around. And he was, that night, I saw him on an episode of Watchdog as like this dodgy sales guy. I think it was called Melvin or something like that.
Well, let's maybe not try and name him after slandering him.
But yeah, because you could tell when I went in for the interview with me National Record of Achievement and me GCSE certificates, and I went in and it was £9,000 the job was for. And I went in for the interview in my suit and tie, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but that job's already gone. I gave it to someone this morning." I went, "Oh, bloody hell! Do you want to see my National Record of Achievement?" No. She said, "The good news is we've got another job which is exactly the same, but for £12,500. Do you want that one?" I went, "Oh, yes, please." So I ended up working there, sitting next to this guy who had the misfortune of being before me in the queue, who was doing exactly the same job for £3,500 less a year.
How does that even work?
I have no idea. But it was just so there was no system for inputting stuff.
She was just bored, wasn't she?
I got knocked out by my boss at a Christmas party. It was just, yeah. Did I tell you this? it was a Christmas party, and it was so bad that I remember drinking like from lunchtime. And we went into this place in Leeds, and I remember walking in through the front door at about 8 o'clock. And the next thing I knew was walking out at 3 o'clock in the morning, holding my jaw and going, "Oh, Christ, why does my face hurt?" And one of the blokes I was with went, "Dave, for the last time, you were knocked out. You were punched in the face and knocked out." I was like, "What?" So I sort of pieced it together from different stories, and I'd been having a conversation with my sort of line manager at the bar, and for some reason, he then stood up and pushed me down the stairs in this club in Leeds and walked down after me, taking his coat off. And as I stood up, he just smacked me in the face and knocked me to the ground.
What?
But apparently...
Can you remember what you said?
I have no idea. I don't know. Well, what makes... Like, how bad could it be?
That's not victim blaming.
Yeah, exactly.
John. Come on.
You just, like, not just
did you do, Dave?
push me
'Cause you
down the
must have done
stairs.
something.
I think I just said, I think this company's being run as a tax dodge.
Right, okay.
Maybe
so
something like that. But that didn't... What was worse
By a
is
bunch
that...
of gangsters,
So
violent
yes,
gangsters.
this guy that
Called-
probably had some kind of criminal, you thought, in the middle of a... Yeah, you would...
Yeah. So, he pushed down the stairs, stand up, punched down. That didn't knock me out, apparently. I went to get up, and then this guy called Ziggy ran over, picked my head up, and someone else shouted, "Don't move him!" So he let go of my head, which went smack on the dance floor, and that's what knocked me out, apparently.
That explains a
Wow.
lot, that,
It
Dave.
doesn't it? And it's all
Yeah.
been...
A lot of dots have been joined.
Everything else since
Long-term
then has
concussion.
just been...
Yeah.
It's been downhill.
Wow, Dave.
So that was your best job. What was your worst job?
My worst job. But the thing was with that, though, it was so mind-numbing that apart from the being knocked out incident, there wasn't really any inspiration to do anything.
Yeah, no, I hear you. 13 hours sticking stickers on banana packets.
Yeah.
It's not really a
Yeah.
starter for 10, is it?
But when I worked, we talked, didn't we, about the chemist thing that I was writing? Because I worked in a chemist when I was at school, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
inspiration from that. So, you know. it's
What about you,
lucky.
John?
Worst, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I'm not really supposed to go into detail, but I can work around the edges of it. One summer, let's just say I worked for a large financial institution, and I worked as what was known as a call catcher in the mortgage arrears department. And basically, this company had they had targets they needed to hit for the time that it took to answer the phone. So they employed people like me to answer the phone without any training and take the details of these. I mean, well, you can imagine these desperate people who'd just had a letter telling them that their house was about to be repossessed. And I was supposed to reassure them that we'd call them back.
Oh.
But what I wasn't allowed to tell these people was that it would sometimes take around 24 hours to get back to them. And bearing in mind, this is in the days before mobile phones. So inevitably, when they called back, they weren't in.
Oh, God.
So it was just horrible. It was an absolutely horrible job. And occasionally, like the smarter people on the other end of the phone, the people calling, would kind of cotton on to the fact that I had
You didn't know what you were talking
Yeah,
about.
I was literally just there to answer the phone and take their name. And they would ask me, "What are you doing? Answering the phone if you know that you can't actually help anyone who's phoning up for help." And I never came up with a good answer to that because it literally was just to get the time down.
Wow.
It was just awful.
Blimey.
And occasionally, in fact, quite frequently, probably like 10 times in the day, I would have people screaming at me down the phone. And obviously had to try and stay calm and then go and get the manager, who was always missing. And it was just horrendous.
He was probably off punching someone, wasn't he?
Very possibly. Yeah, that was an awful job.
Hello, bastard and bastard.
Oh, thank God. Thank you so much, Bransford. You've got to help me. I really don't know what to do. I'm absolutely desperate. We're about to be evicted from our house, and my kids, they don't have anywhere to live, and I'm...
Yeah, unfortunately, you missed out the bit where that's my problem.
You heartless... How can you sleep at night?
Oh, I just listen to erotic fiction audiobooks. Oh, got a call waiting. Hello, bastard and bastard. God, that sounds horrendous. What a moral quandary.
So I assume you just left, did you, after your first shift?
I did it for a summer.
You did that for an entire summer without a
Yeah,
guilty conscience?
I did it. I did actually...
So if anyone listening had their house repossessed between
In
the
that
months
period.
of May and September...
Yeah, grim.
Wow.
It's amazing what you do when you're younger.
Well, when I had a moral disagreement with something, I just left.
Did you? God.
That was my worst job. I was there for one shift.
What, the
You
bananas?
didn't like the way the bananas were.
No, it wasn't
were,
bananas. I was there for
oh.
a while doing bananas. That was just monotonous. But when I worked at the frozen Yorkshire pudding factory, that was one shift. One shift.
Oh, you can't freeze Yorkshire puddings.
It's wrong on so many levels.
So that was the reason you left.
It was disgustingly hot,
Cultural
and the air was
appropriation.
filled with liquid oil. Like, it was humid with oil.
Ugh.
And then you'd spend all the time taking these hot Yorkshire puddings out of the trays, putting them in the little plastic packets, and then putting them on the shelvings that would then fill up and get moved away. And at the end of the shift, the manager came round and she said, all right, let's have a look here. And so she went in the bin, which is where you put the Yorkshire puddings that had fallen on the floor or someone had accidentally kicked or you'd sneezed on, and started sort of brushing them off. And as long as they looked intact, they were going in trays. She was putting them in trays. But yeah, anyway, it was just disgusting. You know, I just smelt of like I'd been in a deep fat fryer.
Oof.
And she said, right, she must be used to it because she said, right, who's coming back tomorrow? Which is a bit of a leading question, isn't it? And I was one of the last out, and she was like, will you be coming back tomorrow? I was like, no, sorry, no, I won't. It's rubbish.
So you were trying to make it sound like it was a sort of moral question, but really it was just a horrible job.
Oh, it was just quite unpleasant.
Just didn't.
But she was obviously aware of that. But because
You
as
didn't
I said,
ring the police or anything to stop that practice from happening. You just didn't go back.
I just withdrew my labour, Dave.
Yeah.
But she said, when I said to her, no, I won't be coming back tomorrow, she sort of leaned into me as if to offer me some incentive to stay. And she said, if you come back tomorrow, I'll let you work in the freezer.
Whoa.
As if that was a treat.
That's the one everyone wants.
Fed up of being hot and sticky with oil, well, would you like to be frozen to the core for 8 hours? How about that?
With oil.
I was like, no, I'm all right. I was like, no, I have a moral objection to the way you're treating these Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah.
I won't be able to work here. Sorry. And left with my head held
Well
up
done,
high.
Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, man.
Well, good for you. Good for you, Tom.
And I think the next job I got was in a sweet shop that made midget gems and wine gums. So, hello, karma.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids about this, and you should see their faces when you say, oh, when as a student I had a few jobs, and you tell them about the banana factory and the Yorkshire pudding factory. And so I went to work in a sweet factory. Sweet factory? Yeah, you could eat as much as you want. What?
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit like a Roald Dahl book, doesn't it? Down the banana factory and then the Yorkshire pudding plant.
How long did it take you to get bored of eating sweets?
Well, the factory had to shut in there because too many. What are you having for your break there, Tom? Just midget gems. Midget gems. You can't take them out? Fine, I'll eat them here. Right. 3 boxes of midget gems. Give me the black ones.
Why are there no midget gems coming down the conveyor belt today?
Yeah, you know, in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Augustus Gloop. I think I was the one probably getting sucked up a massive midget gem and wine gum tube or something like that. Well, that's it then. So next week's task is to get a job in a factory for a few weeks.
Yeah. And then leave on moral, ethical grounds.
Yes, to find the most objectionable, immoral job you possibly can, but then to quit it immediately to show how.
I think you'll find you're not allowed to call them midget gems anymore. I will not be returning tomorrow. Well, the thing is, I've only had. I worked in the chemist. I worked in the knockoff data inputting place. I worked in the co-op briefly before the chemist. I was headhunted to the chemist, and that's it. Then I worked at Galaxy, and I haven't had a job since. My other half, like when she applies for jobs, and she says, like, do you want to look through the application form? And I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't have a clue. I only ever had 2 interviews in my life. I can't really
Dave just
give
says,
you any
no,
advice.
well, just go to the job, and then when you get there, they'll probably offer you the same job, but for more money. Just make sure you're not
Sure,
first
that's
in.
how it works.
Yeah.
Just don't be first in for the interview.
Do you think that's the other thing about doing what we do? Is the I think that's the other problem. It's not just the the fact that we don't have very much to write. It's the motivation. Because actually, if you've got a job that pays, does actually pay the bills, you fundamentally know you don't have to write a book to bring the money in. You have to write just for the joy of writing.
Yeah. The stakes aren't that
I think
high,
we've
are
probably
they?
managed to alienate quite a lot of potential listeners there, haven't we, though?
Yeah, cut that bit out.
Our life is so hard because our life is so easy.
Yeah.
It makes things really hard.
Yeah, you're right. We can't say that, can we? We cannot say that.
And it is true. There isn't.
But
There's
it's
an
true.
element
I
of
do
truth to
think.
it, but,
I think, in a way, we're out of touch with reality. I think that's possibly what it comes down to.
Yeah, it probably doesn't play well with people that are
Totally.
actually working really hard and, do you know what I mean, bringing up a
No, I
family
agree.
and actually do have a burning desire to write something. And we're here going, I spent half an hour writing some erotica. And that was more than
Then
enough
went
for
out
the
and
week.
bought a car.
And watched a bit of Netflix.
Yay. Yeah, you think of writers like, who's it? Philip K. Dick, the guy who wrote the Blade Runner thing. He got into drugs because he was that poor that he had to bang out stories really quickly. So he's taking amphetamines so he could basically write during the night as well as during the day just to pay the bills. See, that's what you want. You want a bit of that. Striving, banging out story after story. That's what we need.
Yeah.
The pressure.
I know.
The absolute pressure.
We need to give our money
Well, that's
away.
what I was hoping this podcast would
Yeah.
provide in a very less drug-fueled kind of way. that little bit of peer pressure
Briefly,
and
didn't it?
expectation, and do you know what I mean? We should be doing something.
But look what we've achieved by having a task to do and a sort of deadline in which to do it. We all actually wrote something
Yeah.
of dubious quality.
Well, yeah, and we should get other people writing stuff as well.
Yeah, we should give other people deadlines and tasks.
Okay. So are we going to get other people to write us some erotic fiction? Do we really want to read through all that?
Send us some filth. My post box is wide open.
Yeah, I want to know what's going on in the depraved minds of our listeners. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, send us some stuff. Maybe we'll have like a little midweek special.
Yeah, we've set the bar incredibly low, as you just heard.
Yeah.
So
But just send us a page of your finest erotic fiction, and I don't know, maybe we'll do something with the best ones. We could read them out, or we could act them out, couldn't we?
Whoa.
we could do. We could. Well, just
yeah.
voice wise. Do you mean, Dave?
Yeah, if you want to do it. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Because
Just
that would have
be
taken
clear.
quite a nasty turn, possibly.
Yes.
So they need to send those. You can either hit us up on Twitter at Failing Writers or failingwriterspodcast@gmail.com. Send stuff through there, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah, brilliant. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, hopefully we can inspire other people in the way that we ourselves have been
Yeah,
inspired.
or maybe they'll write something decent.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I think that'd be good. I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah. So yeah, send us in your work. See if you can rise to the
Yeah.
occasion and put a smile on our face.
Yeah.
So what are we doing for next week?
Next week, we're going to interview a proper bona fide writer, aren't we?
Oh, so next week, we don't need a task for next week because our task is just to turn up and talk to
Next
Owen.
week's task is to think of some really tricky questions for Owen.
Yes, that's what we'll do.
We can do that?
We can do that, can't we?
Should we get him to write some erotica
I think
for
we
next
should.
week? Or...
Hello.
Where's everybody gone?